All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to these two wonderful gentlemen. I'm actually really grateful because for the first time, I have come to South by Southwest. I actually live in Austin now. And it's like the most exciting thing in the world to sleep in your own bed and not have to deal with the travel. So I want to welcome, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Sarah Aiken. I am CEO of Crater. Crater is a network for creators with next wave ideas. We help brands find their cultural voice by connecting with creator-led programming in fashion and beauty, music and sport, entertainment and art. And with me today, I have the incredible Dale Moss, who I will have introduce himself in just a moment, and Tinashe Chaponda as well. So Dale, can I just come to you quickly and have you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about the story, your journey to get here, and the business that you're running today?
So my name is Dale Moss, former NFL athlete, current creator, executive producer, and entrepreneur. I think back to 2012, 2013 when influencer marketing first got started. I was kind of in the early stages of that, working with some of the biggest talent agencies, and honestly just loving to create. I went to school for film and video, but it's amazing to look at where things are at now. I'm currently developing and executive producing a docu-series on Special Olympics athletes building up to the World Games in Berlin, Germany this June. I partnered with Radical Media, Academy Award-winning, Emmy Award-winning production company, and as a global ambassador for Special Olympics, they gave me exclusive access to tell this story. I have a sister with physical and intellectual disabilities, so this is one of those projects that's very, very near and dear to my heart. But my dream was always to be a filmmaker. It was always to be a producer, and I think for so long I was so afraid to tell my story. I always thought, hey, maybe I can tell other people's stories, and reach, influence, the things that I've done over the years have allowed me to build a full-fledged business. I have Moss Martin Media, which is creative agency production company, but I've since launched Moss Media Group for this docu-series in this project. And I've had the privilege of not only being featured in some of the biggest campaigns with the biggest brands throughout the globe, but I actually work with their teams behind the scenes and creative direct and develop a lot of these things along with events and experiences. So that's kind of a broad spectrum, broad look at everything, but I'm so excited for this year, and it's pretty surreal. We were just meeting with Apple 2 days ago about this. We've had conversations with every major streamer, and this now is turning into not only a full-fledged business, but a full-fledged career in diverse storytelling.
Thank you. I'm going to dig into that a little bit more in a bit, Dale. But first of all, I want to introduce Tinashe, who a YouTuber turned creator, agency, and studio. And I'd love for you to tell everyone a little bit about what you do and how you work with creators.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. My name is Tinashe. I'm the founder and CEO of Sosani Studios. We're a creative ad agency with the specialization of influencers and celebrities. So pretty much my story, I was a business student, entered at Goldman Sachs. I got the return offer, and I decided when I came back to completely drop out of business school, and I just went full-fledged creator mode, the Vine skit era. Then a friend came across K-pop, Korean pop. Was like, dude, you need to get on this. There's a lot of money in it. So I was like, okay. So I started sitting there watching K-pop videos, BTS, Blackpink, etc. And this is around 2016, 17 era. So it was really fascinating because I'm a marketer, understanding why people are so obsessed about these people. Through that, I was able to then close myself some deals with Plato's Closet for a couple of different series, Coco International, and some others, until an agency friend poached me, was like, yo, you should make some ads for me. So next thing I know, I'm looking at the back end, and it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars. What's this? So then I did that, the content creation for ads. Then I went into video production to help someone scale their company. But then we started Sosani essentially in 2020. After we lost our video production clients, I realized, holy crap, that thing that was doing a few years back is about to blow up. So we doubled down on influencer marketing, and essentially we focused on creating what we call PIC, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, of PIC series for brands. So our whole specialization is actually helping brands activate influencers in a more serialized, episodic way. And really what our advantage has been is we also have a talent management division that's about maybe 5% overall of our business, but it allows us to have that day-to-day with influencers as well. So being able to understand on a ground level what influencers want, but because we're advertisers, we're actually able to help do that translation for those bigger creator projects.
So it's kind of interesting because I think what you've both touched on is a huge trend that we're starting to see, right? So, if you think about some of the stats that came out recently, so 39% of all content consumed is user-generated. Now, that number is 56% for people aged between 13 and 17. So if you think about what that means, like we're half a generation away from actually creator-led content being the primary content we consume. So if you think about, Netflix spending 17 billion, right, to create content for us to watch, actually where the attention is in user-generated and creator-led content. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to see premium content, right? But what it does mean, and what we at Creator are really interested in, why we're partnering with wonderful creators and talent connectors like Dale and Tinashe, is because what we can see is this opportunity to take creator-led ideas and bring them into the big screen, right? Into the big screen, the TV screens, and so on. So, and Dale, I think, is like such an incredible example of that, right? So, somebody who has had all kinds of opportunities over the course of your career, but are now very clearly seeing an opportunity to tell stories with a lens of diversity and bringing new voices into the space. So can you tell us a little bit more about, and I kind of would love for you to talk about how you see the role of brands in this type of content, so taking, what you've kind of built audience and built momentum around you and your brand, and like how you're able to then take that to build something really important like the project you're working on now.
For me, I believe that I look at everything as partnerships. I don't think of a sponsorship or an endorsement. But if I'm going to relate it to now, I want to create something that's a great deal for everybody. And I know that I've gotten the farthest when I was supported and through collaborations. And, with my brand partners, most of them I've been partners with for 3-4 years, right? So they allow me to be creative and work with their teams behind the scenes. And when I think about this project right now, it's such a unique opportunity for brands to get involved and have an impact on one of the most underserved communities in the world. This is an organization that touches 2 million people globally, and the Special Olympics World Games is the largest sports humanitarian event in the world. And I've always wanted this to be a brand and a brand-focused project because I believe that they can accelerate the growth of it. We can get creative with the marketing, the strategies, instantly impact these communities, and it's something that evergreen content can be created for an extended period of time. And that's not even scratching the surface on the social media activations or creative campaigns, which you can really create a following. So, I really just believe that, as a creator, I've gotten access to so many things, and I've seen it on both sides, from the business side and in front of the lens. And now I want to use those opportunities to create real business, but not only for myself, I want to actually move the needle. And I know that the way that's going to happen is from the buy-in from the corporate brands and the sponsors that really can help accelerate and enhance and make a difference.
And can I just kind of build on that a little bit and just ask a little bit around the importance of how you see brands adding value in that particular, in this particular sort of set of programming, and also the role that you see for what happens outside of the actual content itself, as it relates to how brands can integrate authentically.
Yeah, I think it gives the opportunity to really just be creative and take the insight and work together on telling a story that normally they couldn't approach, or it's intimidating to approach, it makes it a lot easier to attach or get involved with a specific cause if you're working with someone or they're opening the door and kind of walking you into it. And I think outside of it, it allows brands to really test the waters or try some different techniques and strategies in marketing that may really set the tone and completely change the way they do it for the future. So it's not as big of a risk because you have built-in experts in every space, and I think for me personally, if you're doing something that's culturally important and it's impact focused, I mean, it's hard not to justify getting involved.
Right. And Tinashe, you kind of use a term which I love called pick. I want you to kind of talk a little bit about what that means and kind of, to Dale's point, like why pick projects can be that little bit more effective.
Yeah, and before I get started, who here has actually experienced or done influencer marketing or in your company and things like that? Okay, so a fair amount. So the biggest challenge, right, as you know, everyone's like, oh, creators are the future, let them have more creative freedom. But the issue is, as you know, we've done these campaigns that get millions of views, but on the back end, there's no actual results to show. So our whole concept is, obviously, the idea is we want creators to be creative, but it still needs to make sense from a brand perspective. So the idea of PIC is called Passion Integrated Influencer Campaigns. So for example, a creator comes to us, hey, I want to drive around all 48 states playing Mr. B song, right? That is the most traumatic thing for any brand to sponsor, copyright issues, etc. So what we did is we said, okay, you're already going to be driving, and yeah, you're a Mr. Beast fan. So we hit up Cash App, right? Hey, Cash App. This person's going to be driving to all 48 states with or without you. So why don't we get you integrated? And what we did is essentially we created something called Cash App America, where it was the first time Cash App last year had a creator drive to all 48 states. So on top of creating organic content, he was also doing the series at the same time. So what this did, it ended up getting 85 million views, 13% engagement. We went #1 trending on Twitter. The first time Cash App did an in-person activation with the creator by themselves. Then a couple months later, Warner Brothers comes about, and we have these 6 creators that want to go on this 4-city tour. So we did essentially was like, okay, Warner, you want to hit the Latino market. These are 6 Latino creators. So we ended up having them do 3 cities, and through that whole aspect of it, I ended up being one of the, once again, more higher performing influencer campaign. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson ended up actually surprising them for a video collaboration. And the reason we do this kind of concept of integrating brands into what's already happening, it allows us as an agency to spend that additional time crafting the project to make sense to brands. And you as a brand, right, you have this quarter, we're focused on execution. Here's the RFP. But the issue with that is creators won't give you creative ideas until the contract's signed. So the content's very much transactional. With PIC is, hey, this is already happening, and our team puts a lot of time into coming and say, like, Cash App, we know you're focused on your P2P feature, you're focusing on teens. So while Justin is driving, we'll have him stop at these specific high school locations in order to get what you need. Same thing with Warner and all these other brands. So the idea of PIC is actually to allow brands, especially those that are looking for new ways to integrate with influencers, because the reality is, yes, 200 million people identify as creators, so there's a lot of noise. A lot of noise and a lot of creative fatigue for a lot of brand people. They're like, dude, I have KPIs, reporting. You can't sit there all day talking to creators nonstop, hoping an idea works. So that's where we come in. So some projects we've been in the talks for 8 months. One has been like a year or so, just trying to make sense for the right brand. And this works for all verticals. So the idea of PIC is you're not just getting a passion project or some cool idea, but it's actually integrating with your brand's KPIs and goals, and that's our job.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what's so interesting about that is the opportunity to access the social capital and eyeballs that naturally come with what that creator is going to do anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like finding ways to empower the creator to genuinely create content that audience, that 56% of 13 to 17-year-olds are watching all the time. and enabling brands to authentically like weave into it.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say with that is too, Sarah, is like, it makes the whole process easier, right? So I mean, y'all have had the inquiries where you hit up, hey, let me get one TikTok, 60,000. You know, like, oh my God, the ROI is not there. With our process, everyone is motivated to make it happen, right? So negotiations are easier. Everything is smoother. Warner was willing to have, Dwayne come in because it was so easier. Prime with Logan Paul and what we did over there. So really it helps just with the process, and the creator ends up actually over-delivering because they're like, crap, this is a project that I need to succeed personally. So therefore, they're willing to be more cooperative with brands as well.
Yeah. So to kind of build on that, I mean, we've recognized, right, that in order for creators are entrepreneurs, right? Clearly, look at the evidence. But in order for them to be successful, right, they need three things. Like any entrepreneur, they need money, obviously, ownership, actually, both IP and audience, and community, right? So like people and resources and all of the things. And if you think about any entrepreneur in any circumstance, in any line of work, same thing. Ownership, I think, is a really interesting topic for us to spend a second on, because as we think about, taking creators from, the social worlds and then expanding into bigger projects, bigger moments, bigger opportunities, and that can become businesses like Moss Media, for example. How important is the kind of concept of ownership of audience and your IP?
Yeah, I would say ownership is key from the creator side, right? Because I think allows more creative expression, but it also on the brand side, it gives them opportunity to actually be part of that ownership as well, which means higher investment dollars for that creator and that project. For me, I realize I'm not as fun and creative as Dale here, so I kind of went behind the scenes and kind of helping with creators. But they're actually more willing to have brands participate in the IP as well if needed. And like Cash App America, for example, we're actually able to also build IPs for both the creators and also for the brands. So Cash App America, they ended up coming back to us 2 months and saying, yo, we want season 2. Let's have this creator come back and do a couple more seasons, essentially, on social. So IP is great because then it really allows a brand to integrate long-term with the creator, and therefore allows for better ROI in the long term.
I couldn't agree more. I think ownership is vital, and that's one thing I did this year. I was building so much for so many brands for so long, which I loved, and the corporate team were vested. I created podcasts that I had ownership with and things like that. But with this project, I really, really fought to maintain creative control and ownership. And I was very surprised how willing the production team and everyone involved was to give it to me. But I think that's also because my attachment to the project. But I have creative control. I have final say-so of the director on this project. When we're talking with distributors, I'm strategically looking at brand partners to bring in because we can control the advertising. And that's something that, maybe 5 years ago, that would have never, ever happened. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And I've taken that approach in a lot of the things I do because I want to have skin in the game. I want to open up my resources and I want to open up my network to my brands, the clients, anyone who's involved, because I think that's how you win. And I'm really proud of, what I built and the network that I have. But also I know when I can do that, it's a better chance for success because those are certified. Those are areas that I really know and very, very well. So I think it's very, very important, even from the brand side, if you want to really, really work with someone, get creative and share that IP and that property because then you have something that you can do time and time again, and they're more vested in it. And likely, if you're looking from a dollar perspective, it's going to save you in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that collaboration, that partnership always, isn't it? It's like getting that right. So I don't know how much time we have left, but nobody's waving at me, so I feel like I can ask another question. So I wanted to kind of touch on for a second we've talked a lot about authenticity, right? And how to integrate brands authentically into content. What have been some of the sort of challenges you've had in past programs, whether it be requests from people you're working with, or a good experience in terms of like integrating authentically? Like,
I would say the biggest challenge is brands thinking that you need a Logan Paul or a Kim Kardashian to make these type of things happen. The reality is you can do this type of pick series concept with emerging creators as well, all the way up. And really, it's actually even better in that aspect because you get more content, more that you can actually then distribute to other aspects. In terms of exciting stuff that we've seen through this conversation is it allows brands to almost in a way have like an external creative team. So brands essentially literally are like, yo, just throw any idea at us because you guys keep coming up with these crazy ideas. So it allows brands to have another creative source that, as I keep saying, creative fatigue is a thing in an organization, right? Like as creative as you want, you still got to hit those KPIs, reporting, etc. So I would definitely say that. Instead of that, overall, the main thing has just been awareness, I would say, for us at least, because when we bring this idea up, everyone's like, oh, it makes so much sense, let's do it. But it's because of all the noise that makes a lot of brands have been burnt. You know, we've all been there. You know, we've all been burnt with a creator here and there in terms of just performance. So it's a new wave, but it's mainly for those brands who understand the value of creators. So if you're a first-time brand, it might not necessarily make sense. But for those who are like, hey, we've been doing this for so many years, how can we start to be unique and different? It works really well for them.
I think for me, I talk about like engagement versus alignment a lot, and I feel like there's definitely been times I've been approached for engagement, just numbers and stuff like that, and I've openly said, you know, there's certain things I will not do. Like, you know, the money is not the focus for me, especially at this stage in the game. If I'm putting something out there, it has to align with what like I believe in. So this might be the marketing campaign of the company, or you put together this creative brief, but like I don't agree with all of the things in there, and I never take the approach of like, no way, there's no way I'm doing that. It's like, what can we, like, how can we make this work and make this more authentic? And I think that's something that happens a lot. And I also think from a creator perspective, even business, when there's dollars on the line, people are afraid to say no, or people are afraid to say, hey, I don't need that check. I don't want that check. You know, I've been in stages where felt I had to take it. And I remember feeling as if like I never want to be in that position again. But people are very, very receptive to it. And I think it's always about how can we make this work being solution oriented. And it's also, you just got to put up boundaries to protect who you are as an individual, because I'm attached to everything I do as an individual as well. No matter what company, if my name's on it, that's attached to my personal brand as well. And I know and understand that. And I look at, if I take something now, how's that going to affect me 3, 5, 10 years down the road?
Yeah, I think you've hit on something really important there around the power now, I think, that creators have to say no, right? Like, hey, no, you know what? I don't use that product. I don't like it. I can't back it authentically, right? And I think historically, lots of people took the money and just figured out how to, make it work. And actually, that lack of authenticity from the creator side was an issue. And I think what we're seeing and what we're pushing towards is this environment where creator-led ideas are so much higher value, because you're able to your point, benefit from the fact that the creator wants to do it, to do it wholeheartedly, and is willing to bring your brand on the journey with you. I'm going to stop for a second and just see if there's any questions from this outdoor room that we're in. For Dale or Tinashe. All right, so anyone who couldn't hear that question, the question is around how have you seen the scale and complexity of projects grow over the years?
Yeah, from an agency side, I would say is that brands are starting to understand that different types of creators are best at different parts of the funnel, right? That's the first thing, where first you felt one creator having to create content for everything. So first is actually breaking it down on a funnel perspective, as I know you're personality driven, you're really good, you do 3, 4, 5 minute TikToks, I need you to convert compared to someone who's more high impact. Second is the use of content, right? So it's becoming more of, okay, we'll have you create X amount of content for your page, but then also UGC content as well. So it's actually being able to be more diverse with the content you use. And then 3, using all that content cross-department wise. So we're now in conversations where before it was like what you're saying, right? Hey, here's a campaign, can you do this video? But now we're in meeting with their experiential team, their growth team, their product team. These are the goals we have, and then creating influencers. So I think people are starting to realize that the power of the creator has a lot of potential of impacting not just one part of their marketing division, but all cross-functional. And also, yes, I'll definitely say that's a big part and why we as a Sosani love working with Group Black, by the way. Just a little mini shout out there for Travis and Sarah, because they are bringing brands to us that do understand the value of that.
I can chime in on that too. I think just the progression, and we talk about complexity. I think about when I'm big into health and wellness, and it used to be a conversation of, hey, come host this workout. Let's do this for like 30 people. Last year, I co-produced with one of my partners a fitness experience that we took over Padre Stadium with 700 bikes and Zed performing, and that was 3 years later. Also took over a whole property in Miami during Art Basel and had the top wellness experience for the entire week. Deepak Chopra is leading the meditations. We've got Barry's Boot Camp in this year in their corporate team, and it's crazy to think that like what started so small, but you build that trust, and then they see that you can deliver, and now we're pulling in 10,000 people throughout an entire week at one of the biggest art and festival experiences down in Miami at the end of the year. So they see the value, but you have to produce, And I think the biggest thing, and this is another major thing why I'm so grateful for Creator Group Black and being able to have a team around you, because they know when you're supported, they're supported. And it makes it so much easier because you have resources to get things done. And a lot of brands can't access these. That's why they work with agencies. Well, y'all have a team. I work with 5 different agencies that represent all the brands. So the resources and the network that you gain is freaking huge.
It's that community point, right?
Yeah, it's all about community.
It has to be. We have to create a community around these entrepreneurs that, quite frankly, have got way more. Is there a question over here?
I'm pretty loud, but okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Ronnie. I just wanted you to tell me about your most successful partnership and how did you measure that success, or your favorite. I understand sometimes your favorite may not be the most successful.
Yeah, from our side, one of our most successful was with Willa. It's a creator platform for advanced payment platform. So that was one that really, we had every layer of it, from the creative, the series, all the way to actually conversions as well. That thing that the moment you ask the influencer for conversions, they get scared. So it was actually one of those campaigns that were multi-layered with creativity, but also driving downloads and actual conversion for their users. I would say it was more on an actual success from a metrics, data perspective. The more fun stuff, probably the one I keep talking about all the time, is the Cash Apps of the world and the Warners, just because, for example, we were activating at Houston, and he was supposed to give away 20,000 if everyone tweeted, and all the money ran out in 15 minutes. So I had to call Cash. I was like, yo, he's at the field. There's like 200 people wanting da-da-da. So it allows brands to even be willing to be on the go and kind of adapt. So I would definitely say Willa was an example of the full cycle influencer execution. Cash App was more, obviously with them being a more well-known brand, it was more of that cultural hit. Until this day, that campaign that finished last August is still growing because it was so organic and people keep finding about it, I would say.
I would say, mine, I'll give you 2. Michelob Ultra has been one of my partners for numerous years, and if you've ever seen them do their fitness festivals or Live Fit, Live Fun, Live Ultra, I was one of the core people that started that 5 years ago. And since then, We would host fitness experiences, bringing in 5,000 plus people all over the country. I've designed footwear for like the New York City Marathon running team, which is the largest running team. Produced a major experience, one of the biggest workout classes in the world of cycling, 700 bikes, Dodger Stadium. And I've actually brought a beer to market with their team. It's Michelob Ultra Amber Max, which I think it's here in Austin, Texas. And they built that marketing campaign around me, which was actually cool. But I worked with their team in the corporate setting 4 times a year, 4 days in Fort Collins, Colorado. The most important one I have is my Special Olympics partnership. And I say partnership, but I'm a global ambassador. This is my passion. This is my family. And now with the project that we're producing, this docu-series has a chance to not only be the biggest awareness thing for the organization has ever had, but it also has the ability to raise the most funding of that the organization has probably ever raised, outside of like a major donor giving 25 million. But and this project is big. It's going to be about a $4 million project, but we've also got the ability to do this again in 2025 for the Winter Games. That's nothing compared to the value that anyone attached to this is going to get. So those are my two from the business and now passion, most important and biggest partnership.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it, isn't it? It's like it's the word partnership is key, isn't it? It's just like literally the difference between a transaction, I'm going to pay you to do X, versus I'm going to work with you to build your career. We're going to build together. We're going to build a product together. I mean, that's incredible. And it's kind of where, we can certainly see so much entrepreneurship happening in the world of creators, and it's just the beginning of kind of turning that into meaningful, sustainable, long-term businesses. And there's so much opportunity to be part of that social capital and be part of all the eyeballs and culture and heart that creates. So thank you both for being here. I am incredibly grateful for you taking the time today, coming to Austin, hanging out in my hometown.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, exactly.